Christina was the kind of woman who could light up a room with nothing but her smile. Beautiful, yes, but it was the radiance of her personality that truly set her apart. She had a warmth that made everyone feel seen, heard, and valued. Working as a waitress and hostess at Boosters, a bustling restaurant that catered to the city's elite, she had become an undeniable presence. With her quick wit and infectious laugh, she moved through the crowded tables with ease, taking care of every customer as though they were family. On a stormy, rainy night that would alter her life forever, Christina's world collided with Darian's. It was the kind of night when the lights of Boosters seemed to pulse against the darkened sky. The restaurant was packed, filled with people laughing, talking, and enjoying their meals, the energy electric. Christina had just delivered a round of drinks to a table when she felt the gaze of someone watching her. A man sat at the bar, his eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. He wasn't like the other men who came in. Darian didn't gawk or make suggestive comments. As the night wore on, Darian didn't move from his spot at the bar. Christina went about her duties, but there was something about the way his eyes followed her every movement. She tried to shake it off, dismissing the feeling as a natural paranoia from being the center of attention. But when she passed by him to collect a bill, he spoke. "I've seen you around here a lot. I'm Darian," he said, his voice smooth and deep, sending an inexplicable flutter through her. Christina smiled politely. "I work here," she said with a light laugh, as if everyone knew her by now. But Darian wasn't just another face. He had an aura, something darker, more possessive, that struck her immediately. Their conversation was brief, but Darian's intensity lingered. Before she could walk away, he caught her attention one last time. "I'll be back." "Don't be surprised," he said cryptically, a glint in his eyes. It wasn't long before Christina began noticing him everywhere. At first, it was subtle, a chance encounter at the grocery store, a casual bump-in at the gym, a surprise meeting at the local club. Each time, it felt like a coincidence, but they were always too perfectly timed. He knew where she'd be when she'd be there, and he seemed to always be a step behind. Christina was charmed by the attention at first. He wasn't pushy or aggressive. Darian was calm, patient, a man who seemed to understand her like no one else. They exchanged numbers. But slowly, over the following weeks, the layers of Darian's persona began to peel away. At first, it was small, an innocent text here or there, but soon his messages became constant, texts at odd hours, compliments that seemed almost too much. "I'm thinking about you right now," he'd say. "You make me want to be a better man." It was flattering, and Christina couldn't help but feel special. But that was the first lie Darian told her. He wasn't trying to be a better man. He was trying to control her. Their relationship moved quickly. Darian introduced her to his family, including his father, who owned a prestigious law firm. Impressed by Christina's beauty and intelligence, Darian's father offered her a position in the firm, a dream job she had never thought was within her reach. Christina was swept up in the whirlwind. She began to spend more time with Darian. They were the perfect couple in everyone's eyes. To the world, Darian was the perfect boyfriend, supportive, caring, charming. He made her feel safe, and for a while, she was blissfully unaware of the monster hiding inside of him. But the cracks began to show. The first time it happened, Christina was at a coffee shop with some friends, laughing and chatting with a colleague. Darian appeared out of nowhere, eyes narrowed, jaw clenched. Without a word, he stepped between Christina and the man, interrupting their conversation with a curt, "Excuse us," as he dragged her away. He didn't shout, but the tension in his grip, the coldness in his voice, it was enough to make Christina's heart race in fear. Once they were out, he didn't even need to say anything. His eyes did all the talking. It was the first time Christina felt the sting of the darkness within him. He didn't need to raise his voice to control her. His mere presence had that power. Christina started to withdraw, unsure of what had just happened, unsure of how she was supposed to behave. She tried to distance herself from other men, tried to maintain her sense of freedom, but Darian wasn't having it. If she laughed too loud with someone, if she smiled too brightly at another man, he was there. He would pull her away, take her to a quieter place, and the punishment would come. He would hit her, not hard enough to leave bruises, but enough to remind her who was in charge. She was in shock at first, unable to reconcile the man she had fallen for with the violent stranger who now controlled her every move. Each time it happened, she told herself it was her fault, that she shouldn't have gotten too close to someone else, that she should have known better. She began to feel guilty, unsure of where the line between love and control had blurred. The tipping point came one night at a gas station. Christina had smiled at a man who had greeted her politely, but when Darian saw it, he snapped. He got out of the car, dragged the man out by his collar, and pummeled him without hesitation. When he turned to Christina, there was a fury in his eyes she hadn't seen before. His hand shot out, slapping her across the face. "Never disrespect me again," he spat. And then, in a cold, calculated tone, he threw her into the car and warned her that if she ever disrespected him again, there would be worse consequences. Christina was suffocating. She tried to reach out to her friends, but Darian isolated her from everyone. He had control, and he used it to destroy her sense of self. It became impossible to tell where Christina ended and Darian began. He had her. Meanwhile, Travis, Darian's closest friend, became Christina's shadow. When Darian wasn't around, Travis made sure she didn't get too close to anyone. If she ever spoke to another man, Travis was there, lurking in the background, texting Darian about her every move. Christina tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy. She invited Travis to work out with her, to go shopping, to hang out. She knew it was wrong to depend on him like this, but with Darian's control tightening around her, she had no one else to turn to. But Travis wasn't just a friend. He had his own twisted feelings for Christina. He was falling for her in ways that made Christina uncomfortable. He would linger a little too long when they were alone, his eyes dark with desire. She tried to push him away, but he was always there, lurking, watching. The day Darian could no longer reach Travis, he started to unravel. His temper was already short, but with every unanswered call, every text ignored, his frustration grew. He was becoming unpredictable. Something inside of him snapped. When Travis finally answered his call, it was clear something was off. Darian could hear it in his voice, the hesitation, the distance. And in the background, a woman's laugh. Darian's heart sank. "What's going on, Travis?" But Travis's voice faltered. "Nothing, man. Everything's fine." Darian didn't buy it. When he tried to reach Christina, there was no answer. Panic set in. Darian's mind raced. He rushed home, praying that Christina would be there, that everything was fine, that he was overreacting. But when he pulled into the driveway, her car was there. But she wasn't. Panic turned into rage. He tore through the house, yelling for her, looking in every room. But she was gone. And that's when his phone rang. It was Travis. "Where is she, man?" Darian shouted, his voice trembling with fury. "I've got her, Darian," Travis said, his voice colder than Darian had ever heard. In the background, there was more laughter. It was Christina. It hit Darian like a punch to the gut. His worst nightmare had come true. He raced to Travis's house, but by the time he got there, both Christina and Travis were gone. Months had passed, and then came the wedding. It was supposed to be the happiest day of Christina's life. But as she waited at the altar for Travis, a sudden chill gripped her heart. There was no sign of him. The music swelled and the doors opened, but it wasn't Travis who walked down the aisle. It was Darian. Darian stood at the altar, dressed in a suit, a sick smile on his face. "I'm marrying the woman I've always loved," he announced to the crowd. "Christina belongs to me." Christina screamed as she rushed through the church, her heart pounding in terror. But then, as she reached the bathroom, she saw it. Travis, lifeless, a look of horror frozen on his face. A note was clenched in his hand. "He didn't love you the way I love you." Christina's world shattered. The police arrived, but Darian was calm, eerily calm. As they arrested him, he screamed, "I will haunt you, Christina. When I get out, I'm coming for you." Months later, Darian was sentenced to life in prison. But Christina wasn't the fragile victim anymore. She had made peace with the truth. She visited him in prison. "I knew this day would come," she said, her voice steady. Darian looked at her, his cold eyes glaring. "Travis was always my pawn," Christina continued, her smile almost mocking. "I manipulated him, made him think I wanted him, made him think we were going to be together. I stole his phone to deceive you, and when you came after him, I knew exactly what would happen. You killed him because you couldn't handle that I didn't belong to you." Darian's face twisted with rage. But just as Christina finished speaking, a figure emerged behind her. Darian's father. He smirked at his son. "I was the one satisfying Christina on the phone," Darian's father admitted, his voice cold. "I'll keep doing it over and over again, son, until my last breath." Darian's face drained of color. His world, everything he had known, collapsed in an instant. Christina had won.